Hello there. Welcome yet again to another edition of your program, my program, and program for everyone, mobilizing for development. M4D for short. My name is Zachary Yusuf, your usual host, and I'm glad to be back in the studio today. And today's episode, we'll be looking at work with informal policy makers. But before then, I'd like to inform you that M4D aims to enhance local government and at the same time contribute to improve service delivery in selected local government areas of Kano, Jigawa, and Kaduna states. M4D is funded by the UK Department for International Development and managed by the Palladium Group. My name is Zachary Yusuf again, and to begin to discuss work with informal policy makers, I have in the studios, very privileged today to have the district head of Mega local government area of Jigawa State, Alhaji Mohammed Kema. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us, and I'm also privileged to have Reverend Jesse Malam, who is the former chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, Kechia local government area of Kaduna State. You're welcome, Reverend.
Thank you very much.
And also to introduce Malam Soho, or Umar Soho rather, who is the Secretary, Religious Leaders Forum, Garumala Kano. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let's set the ball rolling now. We're looking at those who are controlling and contributing into policy making from the behind. My first question is to the Reverend Jesse Malam. Who are informal policy makers?
Thank you very much. Informal policy makers, as the name implies, informal. They are those leaders that are recognized by their people, who are in governance of the people, that are set by the people because of their influence over the people, but they are not directly installed in that very position by the government. So these are policymakers. They are informal policymakers, and they are those very informal policymakers that the people listen to. They adhere to their words and to their leading.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know if the district head want to add something to this.
Yeah.
Yes. Who are informal policymakers?
Informal policymakers are those very important class of people that are highly respected, but not their role not defined specifically in the Constitution. But most of the government policies can easily be accepted by the members of the society when it passes through these informal policymakers like traditional rulers. For the people highly respecting them.
Okay.
So this is in fact informal policymakers.
Informal policymakers, you heard. There's these other people, I call them the people behind, and very influential in the society, very influential with the people, and of course very revered as well. Again, let's look at the Secretary of Religious Leaders Forum. Where do informal policymakers come in as regard governance within the local government areas?
So informal policymakers is the people like what the Reverend said and the district chair said. As a regard of informal policymakers is to enhance, or it is those people who are mediator between the government and the people who they are regarded them about what they have influence to them, to increase them in order to achieve themselves what they are ruling to.
Okay. In order to really achieve government policies and set goals, sometimes the formal policymakers will definitely need the assistance of the informal policymakers in order to succeed. Again, I don't know, Reverend, you want to add to where do informal policymakers come in as regard governance within the LGAs?
Yes, of course. These informal policymakers, they serve as bridge. They are down the grassroots. They are the people that feel the pulses of the people, and they come into governance as a bridge with the people and for the government, and also for the government to the people. So they are right at the grassroots. They get to that very place that the government cannot even get directly. So they are down there. They are very down there. So they serve as bridge. They come into governance because of their influence right from the grassroots.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Intermediary, probably.
Yes, they are intermediaries. Yeah.
what is the quality of relationship existing between informal policymakers and the technocrats in the LGAs?
The relationship between informal policymakers and
technocrats.
the technocrats is a very good relationship. Like traditional rulers as informal policymakers, they are members of some of the committees in the local government, like security committee, land matters committee, and farmers and pastoralist conflict resolution committees. So they contribute immensely toward the development of their people through that committees, while working jointly with the technocrats, and also being the policy makers, not informal policy makers, are very closer to the people. So they are very much familiar with the needs or demands of their people. So they take these demands to the local government, to the technocrats, for them to execute, so that development comes to their people.
Right. It's quite defined. We talk about informal policy makers, our religious leaders, our informal policy makers, our traditional institutions across all board are also part of the informal policy makers. Like the district head rightly pointed out earlier, they are, in their roles in the constitution, is not well or rightly defined, but they play a very big role in mediations, as the case may be in some cases. Reverend, what role do formal policymakers or informal policymakers make or play in ensuring good governance and service delivery in the LGAs?
Well, they play vital roles. As I was saying previously, that they are the grassroots, and some of the activities that they engage themselves into to ensure service delivery of government policies is that they must at times monitor governmental projects that have been cited among the communities, and not only that, they also play a role in the community mobilization. They also inform the community about government policies that needed to be executed in instances like a polio immunization and other governmental projects or programs that will be of great benefit to the community. And they also make sure that whenever government slated programs or projects to be executed, they make sure they monitor it to the level of execution. So they play vital roles in such aspect as their terms are rightly defined.
Terms rightly defined there. Manas, or you want to add something? Looking at roles of these informal institutions in terms of service delivery at the LGA level.
So the roles of informal policymakers, like what the Reverend said, it enhances or it as handed between government and the informal policymakers to do something was quite good, right? That is why informal policymakers as a role that are playing within the government. There is no government to achieve anything without involving the informal policymaker to do what's quite right.
All right. Again, I want to talk to the district head now. Considering the extent of influence that informal policymakers have on community members, how can religious and traditional leaders work with government to ensure participatory governance?
Okay, now, especially in MEGA local government, one of the 3 pilot local governments of where M4D is working, the traditional and religious leaders now work with CPOs and identify the needs of their members of the community. They take these needs to local governments So the policymakers study this need and put it in the budget. So the informal policymakers try as much as possible to see that they ensure these demands are fulfilled. They monitor and evaluate again. So whenever they encounter some problems in the course of executing or implementation of this of government projects, based on the demands that are taken by the informal policymakers to the local government, so the traditional rulers and other religious leaders who are the informal policymakers go and face the local government and ensure that these demands are fulfilled, the projects are well executed, so that they benefit the members of the community.
All right, Reverend. In furtherance of this, considering the extent of the influence of these informal policymakers have on the community, all of you have actually come out on this. How can religious or traditional rulers work in harmony, with government to ensure participatory governance in the LGAs?
Yeah. Now, you see, the government is a people that open up their arms to welcome these very informal policymakers. So, getting into involvement is that this very the LGA, the government, they organize government programs where they give that very room for informal policymakers to come in, and then the informal policymakers, they come in with the needs of the people, they come in with the policies of the people, and then they communicate it to the government, and then the government will also in their own turn do what they're supposed to do. So, and the government carry this very informal policymakers because they know their influence, they know their importance at the grassroots. So, and since there is that very many at times, the government open their doors, they call in meetings, different meetings of politics, of government programs. So, you see, by this, it gives a very good avenue for the informal policymakers to come in a very good relationship. And by that, you see, development will go in where it's supposed to go for the benefit of the people.
Okay. Let's again try to say something.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You see now, the local government, when they are preparing their budgets, due to the coming of M4D in our local government, it now reaches to the extent that they must invite the CBOs and the informal policymakers to come and sit together and prepare this budget.
Yes.
So they come with their own demands. These demands, sometimes they are reported demands that the members of the community will come and tell the informal policymakers to take their demands to the technocrats. And sometimes these demands are felt needs. The informal policymakers being people very closer to the members of the community. They hear what they are crying, what they need. Maybe like potable water, drainage, and maybe a primary school building. So when they hear that, these informal policymakers take these demands to the local government, and when it comes to the budgeting, the local government now invite the informal policymakers and the CBOs to come and sit together to see if their demands are reflected in the budget. And also the informal policymakers, like most traditional rulers, ensure that these projects, these demands or projects are executed.
All right, we're talking about informal policymakers' influence in the society. Again, we'll talk about participatory budget, also one of the areas of intervention by M4D. It is pertinent because informal policymakers, like the traditional and religious leaders, will always encourage the people in the community to participate in governance by way of going in there and putting in their input. Let's go back to Umar. Now, Umar, let's take a look at one particular area, it's the girl child education. And its statistics abound that many girls will always leave school without completing for marriage purposes. The question here is, what specific role will traditional and religious leaders play in encouraging girls to finish school?
Okay. So first of all, we look about the education. Education is a knowledge where somebody engaged to survive goodly and to enhance somebody, to know that education is very important. So a factor of the girls within the society to complete the schools. So the traditional and the religious leader sit down and discuss about what are the main or what are the core agent problems within the society, to know that as a child or the girl's child to finish our schools, look at the failures of or shortage of girls within our own hospital, teaching, and any part of the ministries. So to sit down and tell them that this is very important to them, to traditional and religious leaders to tell them the truth about what is happening within the society. Don't face that the girl child are so clothed with or what somebody gets as girlfriends within the school is not too good. Don't look that, to look straight. What are the purpose of this engaging knowledge of a child, girls, have to finish their schools?
Reverend, from the religious point of view, to try to encourage the girl child to continue in their studies, what role will the religious aspect play here?
You say, I remember some months ago, M4D called us and we were able to sit down and explore through our sacred books to see where the girl child is placed. Now, the reason is that there are a lot of traditions and culture that have so marginalized the girl child, and most at times what it is being expected to be done to them will not be done educationally. And like now you discover that in some of our societies, the girl child is being seen as a producer of money by hugging and other things. They don't care to send her to school or send them to school. Now we try to explore our religious book to see where is their place. Now we discover that the Bible did not segregate them. Now whatever will be done to any male child should be able to be done to the girl child, because they are well as important as the male child, because that is where God has placed them. So as a religious leader, the role that I play or we need to play, including our traditional leaders, is that we need to use our sacred books to discard the issue of culture and tradition that decided to place the girl child at the level that God does not place her. So whatever we can do using our sacred books, we educate our followers, we educate our members that the girl child is very important. Today, we have many girls and women who were trained by their parents and they are renowned. They have destinies to fulfill. They have dispensations to deliver. They have a lot of projects to execute within the government cycle. We have them like senators today. We have like Senator Ninadi. We have Angela Merkel of Germany. We have many of them that are women. They are there. So we are encouraging by our holy books that parents should be able to train their girls' child in the school. Whatever they will do, let them do it, because they are very important. Let me just add this. Let no man decide to look at, I have more boys among my children, so let me give concentration to the boys and leave the girls because they go to marriage, and after then, that is all. I want to say to you as a father or as a mother, among your children, you don't know who will take you to your place of destiny tomorrow. All right,
Rakadede, I don't know. Can you elaborate further, probably? Looking at the traditional institution, the role they'll play in encouraging girls to finish their schools, even if they have to get married.
Okay, this girl education is very, very important. In Islamic religion, it is said that if you educate a girl, it's like you educate the whole world. The whole nation. Because the whole nation. Because they are the one that will produce children and bring them up in a good moral values. So they can teach them from home, right from home, before reaching the school age. You see? And those girls that do not attend school, they are just left in the street hawking. And now every day you will hear the problems of this street hawking. So traditional rulers and religious leaders are now intensifying efforts through preachings to improve these girls' education. We traditional rulers, we used to even call the parents and discuss with them separately after maybe discussing with them in a town hall meeting. So for those that we see they don't have still the idea of taking their girls' child to school, we used to call them individually and discuss with them, telling them the importance of girls' education. Because girls also, when they are educated, they will benefit, they will become a very important people in the society like their male counterparts. Okay. So they are all the same.
Okay, now another aspect of we want to look at is M4D that I've been talking about, social, gender inclusion, and so on. Now, people with disability, Reverend, again, religious people and traditional institutions have a big role to play in encouraging parents to really take a look at, PWDs.
Yes. Number one, in that very aspect, I have to say this very frankly, that the holy books do not in any wise relegate these very people living with disabilities. So we encourage people that if it happens that you have some of them, you do your best to educate them. Yeah. You do your best. Because the one in one of the scriptures say, God was speaking with Moses, he said, I make the blind, I make the deaf. So they are also part of God's creation. So if one happens to get them, you shouldn't say, these very people, they are a curse to me. And so, no, they are also important. Train them. That is how we use the holy books to tell our people. We preach it in our churches and even in the mosques. We tell them they shouldn't be just used as a means of getting money in begging on the street. Train them. Give them school acquisitions. Teach them. Educate them. And they do their best. I remember when I was in the secondary school, one of my teacher was a blind man. He was blind. He taught me. And I cannot regret it. So they are all important.
Let's begin to wind down a little. Again, all these things we've been talking about, there could be challenges here and there. What are some of the challenges probably you faced in carrying out your advocacy or mediatory role, both from the community and from the former policymakers? What are the challenges?
Okay, before the challenges in our role of mediation, traditional rulers, their most important role is mediation. That is resolving disputes from the members that may arise between the members of the community. In those days, or before the coming of M4D, rarely women are marginalized. They are not allowed, they are not involved in the alternative dispute resolutions. So, but now with the coming of M4D, they collaborate with Hizbah Command Jigawa State and try to modernize the way we mediate. Now they form what is called Sulhu Committee, a mediation committee, in which a woman now is a member, very active member in that five-member committee. So now women come to the time when they will come and sit with the traditional ruler and chief imam and other important members of the community to discuss on issues, to mediate and resolve conflicts. So really, and also the PWDs are also included now, because the CBOs, the informal policymakers, are now regarding that PWDs. But all these come with kind of this M4D. Okay. Now everything in our local government is now gender inclusive, and also including PWDs. Even the needs of the demands of PWDs are taken to the policymakers through CBOs and informal policymakers, and also policymakers and CBOs follow up and ensure that these demands are fulfilled. So that now in our local governments, the PWDs now feels like they are equal with any other member of the society. They interact freely now in us, within us.
All right. Let's quickly look at it from the Secretary of Religious Leaders Forum in Gamala local committee area. We're looking at some of the challenges in the mediatory roles in the community, and at the same time, former policymakers.
So the challenges of informal policymakers is the same thing what the district chair said. Most of our society, the people who need to know that PWDs are more engaged with the community to so closer, so that you can enhance them, and they know that those people are not too arrogant people. You're supposed to sit down and tell them the truth. There is no religion that kept them aside. You have to clothe them and to know them the right way so that they can survive easily.
All right, thank you very much. I'm sure you heard the past 25 minutes or thereabouts. My guest in the studio has been talking about informal policy makers. Who are they and what they have been doing in the society to enhance our livelihood and at the same time enhance good governance. At this point in time, I want to say thank you to the district head of Mega local government area in Jigawa State, and that's Alhaji Muhammad Garba. We thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And we also want to thank Reverend Jesse Madam, who is the former chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, Kesha, in Kaduna State. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you very much.
And again, the Secretary of Religious Leaders Forum from Garumala local government area of Kano State, Malam Soho Umar. We really appreciate it.
Thank you about inviting.
All right, again, this is the number. If you want to send SMS to us, tell us one or two areas probably you need clarification or any other matter, you can send your SMS to 0803-694-7611. Please send your SMS. Make sure you don't call that number. Yes, because if you give out numbers, people do call. SMS only on 003-694-7611. And you can visit our website. That's our M4D website. It's www.mobilizingfordevelopment.com. It is pertinent to note that M4D aims to enhance local government and at the same time contribute to improve service delivery in selected local government areas of Kano, Kaduna, and Jigawa State. M4D is funded by the UK Department for International Development and managed by the Palladium Group. I am Zachary Yusuf on behalf of the entire production crew. See you next week.